Jordan Brand just launched a brand new basketball sneaker dubbed for women only. Or is it? Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Chris. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. Today we got a detailed look and breakdown on these potential bad boys right here, or bad girls, depending on which pair you picked up. It's confusing, I know, but I'm gonna do my best to explain it. But this is the Jordan Heir. It's a brand new silhouette from Jordan Brand. It retails for about 110 bucks, which I think is awesome. Is it packed full of tech and premium features? No. But does it feel like it could be a great basketball shoe? Yes. But before we deep dive into these bad boys, we do have a quick word from today's sponsor, and that's the good folks over at Scheels. And just in case you're unaware of what Scheels is, they're a retailer both in-store and online. They have a wide variety of sneaker brand accounts. They are official account holders for brands such as Jordan Brand, Nike, and so on and so forth. They carry all kinds of different footwear and sporting equipment. And on top of all of that, they do have a sneaker release calendar. So if you ever wanted to see what was coming from Scheels, you can always go to their website, links down below in the description box. It'll head you over to their site where you can check it all out. But anyways, with that being said, this is the box. It's a weird kind of like seafoam green. You do have a purple Jumpman logo on there, and this pair right here is just labeled Jordan Heir, and then it's got the men's size with the women's size underneath it. However, there's a second colorway which specifically states on its label women's Jordan Heir, and then the sizes are flipped. So you got women's first, men's second. It's super confusing, especially if you're looking at these online, but I'm just letting you guys know it's a weird one, so bear with me. But either way, this right here was supposed to be a women's basketball shoe, much like the Sabrina 1 and 2s, which we all know is very popular amongst all basketball players because basketball shoes are for basketball. Surprise, surprise. However, it's not Jordan Brand's first time out making women's specific basketball models. Way back when the WNBA was first announced or debuted. I don't know what to say, but like when it first started, when it was in its infancy in 1997, Jordan Brand decided, you know what, we should make a women's basketball shoe. And that's what gave us the women's Jordan basketball shoe. We did do a review on them, and it's an awesome shoe. And for all of you guys being like, if MJ didn't wear it, I don't want it. Boom, there you go, wearing it. Now that original women's model released way back in 1998, and then they followed it up in 1999 with the Jordan Sweet Fade, which basically reused the original model's tooling, but then they lowered the shoe, like the height and everything. Sort of a similar vibe, but just maybe like a tweaked version, you know what I mean? It wasn't a complete overhaul to the design, but it did have different design characteristics that you would find in that year's flagship model, the Air Jordan 14. Much like the previous year, looked kind of like an Air Jordan 13. Since then, there's been numerous women's shoes like they used to do, or they still do, but they did the women's retros and things like that. I think the white and blue 3s are like one of the ones that sticks out in my mind. The linen 14s, that's a great one. I'm not making a list, I'm just going off the top. Don't tell me I forgot anything because it's not a list.
Alrighty then.
Fast forward to today, and we've got these, and again, originally it was announced that this was a women's basketball shoe. Somewhere down the line, they decided to pivot from there, which I think is weird. I'm not mad at the decision, I'm just saying it's just weird to go really hard one way and then be like, just kidding, just gonna go over here.
Cool. Cool.
And real quick, just before anybody questions anything, I did try on both versions. I tried on this one and the women's one. And yes, they fit exactly the same. They're built on the same exact glass. There is literally no difference between the two. Very odd, but it is what it is. Now, the outsole, it looks pretty good. I'm not gonna say that it's gonna be elite because there's a couple of parts on here that looks a little bit sketchy. And that's mostly those two little like herringbone portions right in the lateral zones, the main zones where people put a ton of pressure when they go to shift and change direction. Those sections of herringbone are just super flat and shallow, so I'm not very confident, especially if you maybe play on a dusty setting. Once dust starts to cake up on that zone right there, it's gonna be pretty much like a dry mop, like you're just gonna slide. The rest of the herringbone does feel pretty good. The outsole is pretty thick on top of that, like the parts that are actually like thick or rugged, it feels durable enough. I wouldn't say to take these outside or anything, but for indoor play or indoor use, I do think that it's going to be a viable option. We'll see though, I will test these on court and then give you guys a performance review. Now, the tech specs are very interesting because we're going with another drop-in setup, and it's this guy right here. What kind of foam is it? Good question. They don't tell you, which makes me think that it's like really nothing special. It could be Cushlon. It feels semi-bouncy bouncy, but I really don't know. And before you ask like, oh, that's kind of cool, the Zions are a drop-in and then these are a drop-in, maybe no, they're not compatible. This is super thin in comparison to one of those midsoles. And that's the part that is just head scratching, man. When you got a brand like Series Player Only, or even now you introduce Puma with their All Pro Nitro Elite and the Stewie 3s where those midsoles are compatible amongst each other, it makes sense to go and make midsoles that are drop-ins like this, because hey, if you get one shoe and then you get the other shoe, you can, you know, customize what you like and things like that. This, what is the point? There's just this. There's no reason for this. You could have done all of this, gotten the same product with a traditional midsole. So it just seems like you're doing extra shit just to do it, and it doesn't make much sense. It's not purposeful. It's weird. But like I was saying before, this is comfortable. It's just not very thick. It's very thin. It does cup you in certain areas and stuff like that, so I think that's cool. There's flexibility in there because they got like the grooves or the cutouts in there for flex. That's dope. But outside of that, really, what's the point? The midsole that it's caged in is firm as too. So this is one of those shoes where you're going to be super low to the ground. You're going to have very minimal cushioning, kind of like a Kyrie or kind of like the Sabrina 2s. And do I like both of those types of styles of shoes? Typically, yes. So I'm only saying this in the sense of marketing. One, why do this if there's no purpose behind it? Like, why do this if you can't have options? And two, if you're a big guy or you just prefer a lot of cushioning, this is not going to be that shoe for you. It's a very low profile setup. Court feel for days. Now the upper is where things get kind of interesting. Not only is the design very weird, I really like it, but the materials are really interesting too. You've got a TPU cage around the majority of the shoe, and I love that thing, man. That thing looks sick. It may be a little bit excessive, you know what I'm saying? Like adding some weight there where you're like, hey, I thought that we removed rubber to reduce weight. Yes, this is not a lightweight shoe despite it being low profile, but I do think it's cool. It gives it a different vibe. It gives it a different dynamic. When we're talking about contrast between paneling and uppers and design, this has way more going for it than say the Ja 2. The rest of the materials are pretty basic. It's all synthetics and textiles. It even has a sticker included within the midsole which states that the upper contains synthetic leather. So if premium is something that you prefer in your footwear, then maybe don't look at this. If textiles and synthetics are your jam, or maybe you're a vegan baller or sneakerhead and you want to like not support animal products, then there you go. And even though this is not something that I personally love, like I do love my leathers and things like that, for 110 bucks, like this is awesome. Like even the tongues look cool, you know what I mean? Like the tongue has some heft to it. It's got some breathability or ventilation with the airflow because it's very similar materials to like the toe box areas. You got these cool patches on there, one with a Jumpman logo, one with this weird H logo that it took me a hot minute to be able to read that. I was like, are these backwards J's? You know what I mean? Like it was just a weird thing, but I still like it. Like they put some effort into there, even if it is confusing. The heel area doesn't feel like it's got a substantial heel counter. So again, this is really going to rely on the TPU framing. So that rubber cage. But overall, I think that this might be like a sleeper hit, especially for its price point. Like this doesn't break the bank. You know what I'm saying? The only thing that I could knock on it is that if you were to compare this with a different brand's product, like say the AE1, the low top one specifically, because I think they're around the same price point, like around that 110 price. That shoe does have more cushioning technically, but this shoe does feel a little bit better than those. That shoe felt like clunky and kind of heavy, you know what I mean? Especially in comparison to the Boost version from the mids. This one feels like a much quicker paced style of sneaker. So I think that more people will like something like this versus that within that same price realm. As far as fit is concerned, they do fit true to size. However, they are built on the same exact lasts that they've just been using. These lasts are awful, first off. So the shape of the foot that they have chosen to wrap these uppers around, it's just one of the worst things that Nike basketball has done in a very long time. And they've done a lot of stuff wrong lately, but this is probably the worst one. Like every shoe is built on the same last. There's no variety. Not everybody's foot shape's like this, man. Like this is a bunion maker. For someone like me, like it pushes my foot in a weird way and I really don't like it. So even though I love shoes like the Sabrina 2s and things like that, it makes me not go back to them very often. Like I go towards the old stuff like the Kobe 4s, which is a bad look. But with all that being said, what's today's question of the day?
Today's question of the day is brought to you by me. No, you're gonna love it.
Oh, okay.
Well, only because I was gonna ask this earlier and I was just like, time out, let's hold it for the end.
Oh, earlier in the video?
Yes.
Okay.
Why do you think there is a new surge of drop-in midsoles? Do you think it's because it's easier to build the sneakers this way, or is it a cost thing? Especially because outside of serious players only, none of these midsoles are compatible with other sneakers in the same brand. So like, what do you think?
It's something that I didn't think about, but bringing up costs, I do wonder. However, it's weird.
Right?
Because everything needs tooling molds.
Exactly, and it's not like they're making a bunch of the same midsoles to slap across multiple shoes.
Not just that, just with a shoe like this where there's two, this is a tooling mold.
I thought, trust me, I was sitting here being like, dollar signs, dollar signs, dollar signs.
This is a tooling mold. So there's two left and right, all size ranges. You know what I'm saying? We're racking up money right here. And so, yeah, I don't understand what the deal is, because your first thought is that it would be less expensive. Maybe the materials save on that. They're not putting anything in these. Like, that's where the Puma All Pro Nitro Elite, the budget there went towards that plate that they decided to use. Did they need that type of carbon plate? No, you could have gone P-backs, you could have gone TPU, you could have gone cheaper carbon, you know what I mean? Like, there's more affordable plates than that. But they chose that one, and it really with the budget. That's my whole inquiry with this is, and I'm not saying this to a brand to challenge you in the sense of like, hey, this is wrong. Like, it's not that, like, because this could be right. You know what I mean? Like, they did it before with the Kobe system. But that's what I challenge with this is like, what's the purpose behind this? Because that's what Nike and Jordan Brand at their peak did, is that when they sat down at the table, there was always a proposed problem that they're trying to find a solution to. Instead, you're creating problems when there was never a problem in the first place. You know what I mean? It's like a backwards way of doing things. So it's like, why is this here if there's not a different one for me to, because you could have made one tooling mold and made that the tooling.
That's why I was wondering and threw in there, like, do you think it's easier to put the shoe together? Like, not having to do the like strobel stitching and
you pull this out. Check this out. You pull this out, the upper is attached to a strobel board.
Okay, so it's still there.
It's all the same process. It's an extra step, if anything.
Okay. I just, as somebody who's not even in the game of basketball, I don't need shoes like this, but I see them come into our house and everything, and yes, it's cool seeing them taken apart, but then once they're put together, like, you and our son never pull
No, it's cool for 1 second.
Yeah, and so without there being a reason for you to take it apart again, I don't understand the logic behind it.
And this is somebody that doesn't play the game. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, are you over there making this
No, because I would say this is stupid.
Anybody in their right mind would. So like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, how can, look, I could keep going. I'm not going to. Maybe a different day. Or maybe if you're part of our Discord, we could talk about it there. But with all that being said, sound off below and let us know what you think about these. Are you also confused by them? Did you not know that there was actually a men's version and a women's version? Very weird why they would not promote this. Like, if that was my brand, if I was Michael Jordan, I would take that personally. Be like, why are you spending all my money doing nothing? But anyway, sound off below and let us know. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We will catch you guys on the next one. So until then, y'all have a good one.